Ever since the horrifying terrorist attacks that hit the World Trade Centers in September of 2001, Muslims have been seen as threats in America.
After 9/11, Muslims have been set back in society. There are 5 times more hate crimes towards Muslims in recent years.
It is disappointing and appalling that the entire Muslim community was put at blame for this. This common misconception has been affecting Muslim families around the country for many years.
So how do we move forward in the future? How do we decrease the marginalization of Muslims in America?
Muslims fear going to work. They fear walking in the streets alone wearing sacred clothing. They fear living in this country due to the sheer fact that they are marginalized against. It is important to raise awareness to this issue because the entire Muslim community should not be discriminated against for events that were out of their control.
82% of Americans say that Muslims in the United States of America face discrimination. Muslims in America do not obtain the same rights and respect that other marginalized groups have. However, Americans are aware of this. Muslims are constantly discriminated against due to their implicit bias that is attached to their religion.
Since the 9/11 attacks, 109 Muslim Americans plotted against the U.S. targets, meaning joining the force to defeat terrorist groups like ISIS.
During this time period, the Muslim slaves were denied the freedom to practice their religion, although many of them were passionate enough to practice in secrecy and risk the consequences.
For a time period in history, the Muslim community was accepted as well as respected in American society.
It wasn't until the late 90s and into the early 2000s that the Muslim community was seen to be marginalized. Beginning in 1996, when the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act increased the control of immigration from Muslim countries.
Then writer asked if fellow American Muslims felt safe in the country. The responses were shocking.
I've been told at my job to hide the fact that I'm a Muslim for my own personal safety by a manager.
They feel unsafe, unprotected, and unwanted in a country that is supposed to offer them freedom, opportunities, and safety for them and their families.
If Americans feel that no one should fear their life because of their culture or religion, then don't stay silent. Speak out.
Dahlia Mogahed is a Muslim American who gave a TED Talk explaining what it is like to be a Muslim in America. After seeing the 9/11 attacks, she thought,
not only had my country been attacked, but in a flash, somebody else's actions had turned me from a citizen to a suspect.
Since 9/11, Muslims sadly have to face the consequences of choices that other people who practice their religion made.
After tragedies such as the Manchester bombings, along with the Boston bombings, Muslims opened up their hearts and offered free taxi rides for Muslim families in need.
as well as earlier this year, after Trump was elected into office, Muslims joined together and offered their peaceful support throughout airports around the country. They held signs that showed unity after Trump laid down the travel ban against 7 Muslim countries.
However, it is out of context to just read those statistics and think that automatically Muslims have an abundance more of terrorist attacks than any other religion or race. For a 20-year span, Islamic extremists only accounted for 6% of terror attacks on U.S. soil, while extreme left-wing groups and Latinos made up 2/3 of all the attacks.
The Global Terrorism Database counted up the number of terrorist attacks carried out by Muslims from anyone or any organization that even remotely sounded Muslim, and found that out of 2,400 terrorist attacks on U.S. soil from 1970 through 2012, approximately 60 were carried out by Muslims, a measly 2.5%.
It is easy to think that Muslims are the biggest threat to our safety because news sources and online databases pounce upon any attack that is seemingly carried out by a Muslim, hoping to polarize a group of people and put a name to the foreboding sense of fear everyone seems to have in their hearts. So how do we move forward in the future? How do we decrease the marginalization of Muslims in America?
Muslims are just as American as you or me. They are a vital part of our workforce, community, and contribute to our economic success.
As much as it is our duty to be welcoming to Muslims, it is on their shoulders too to help assimilate into the American people.
The responsibility lies in both the hands of us and the Muslims to increase the cohesion between two different communities. We are all humans until race disconnected us, religion separated us, politics divided us, and wealth classified us. Instead of letting our beliefs and the color of our skin define us, we must look past and come together in times of fear, rather than isolating a group of people who want equality just like you and me.